direct connection with the largest al-Qaeda unit in Tashkent, and they were not at all pleased to learn that he had already been doubled by the Albanians, or at least that's what Dalton had been told by Tony Crane, the head of the CIA's London station. Dalton, whose time in the 5th Special Forces had given him some intimate and bloody contact with the Albanians, didn't think they had enough tradecraft to double a decaf mocha latte. No matter. According to Tony Crane, the inconvenient Uzbek needed his ticket punched. Crane was a languid, blonde-haired Back Bay princeling with a permatan, a history degree from Oxford, and a Harvard Yard drawl. His only first-hand experience of incoming fire was facing a forehand smash on a clay court. Nevertheless, Crane labored, with some success, at least among the young and gullible on the staff, to create the impression that he and sudden death had been roommates at Choate. Crane wanted the hit done in a memorable way, so those fucking Albanians would get the fucking point. Crane's XO, Stennis Corso, known as Pinky behind his back, a round, seal-like little man with tiny pink ears and bright pink cheeks and soft pink hands that were always raw from too much scrubbing. No one at London Station cared to know why. Had a hopelessly mad crush on Dalton at the time, so Dalton got the assignment as a kind of burnt offering from Pinky, whose private passion for Dalton had tented Pinky's hand-sewn Quaker bedspread for over 2 years. Dalton resented the assignment bitterly. He didn't mind a necessary combat killing, but he deeply despised murder. Nevertheless, he had stayed on the Uzbek for a couple of weeks, realizing pretty early on that, for a double agent supposedly steeped in guile, the fragile old man had the situational awareness of a mollusk. On the day marked for what Crane liked to call the hit, the Friday of the Victoria Day weekend, a 3-day holiday in London, Dalton had stalked him for hours, checking for counter-surveillance, waiting for his moment, which, as these moments often do, presented itself on an escalator. In this case, the one inside the Marylebone tube station. He could still see the old man's tweed coat, draped over his narrow, bony shoulders like a shawl, his yellow-gray hair damp with sweat, his left hand shoved deep into his coat pocket, a few inches of his spine showing above a grimy white shirt collar, as he rode the escalator up into the rush-hour clamor of a London afternoon, his right hand, claw-like, gripping the worn rubber rail. The Uzbek was deep inside himself, curled up inside his thoughts like a cat in a closet. In the final seconds of his life, the old man, perhaps sensing Dalton closing in, turned sharply, his blue lips tight, his cheekbones jutting out, his milky eyes widening. Dalton showed his teeth in what he quite mistakenly imagined to be a disarming smile, and put 4 subsonic .22s into the old man's lungs, the man's shocked breath a short, sharp puff of peppermint and whiskey straight into Dalton's face. The chuffing crackle of the Ruger, the silenced muzzle pressed hard up against the man's woolen vest, was no louder than a dry cough, barely heard above the shuffling din of the crowds, the roar of the subway, the rattle-clank-rattle of the ancient cast-iron escalator. 4 in the lungs looks a lot like a fainting spell to anyone passing by, and everyone did just that. The Uzbek's clothes reeked of Turkish tobacco. His teeth were too large and unnaturally white, like little slabs of plastic, the gums a lurid pink. Baltic work, very likely. Dalton had seen enough of that sort of Stalinist dentistry in the blackened mouths of bloated corpses all over Kosovo. He caught the man's body as it fell, holding the Uzbek up, pasting a worried look on his sharp-planed, cold-eyed face for the benefit of the other people on the escalator, all of whom glanced quickly away, avoiding involvement of any kind, flowing easily around the two of them like water over stones. Dalton dead-walked him to a nearby bench, kneeling down in front of him as if he were offering